The Taiwan Strait, a narrow ribbon of ocean separating freedom from authoritarian ambition, has become one of the most volatile fault lines on the planet. 75 years have passed since the standoff between China and Taiwan first erupted, a saga of defiance and endurance, a smaller democracy standing toe-to-toe with an emerging superpower. Once dismissed as a regional dispute, Taiwan now sits at the center of a far greater struggle shaping the future of global power, technology, and democracy itself. This tiny island nation manufactures over 60% of the world's semiconductors, the chips that fuel everything from smartphones to satellites, from fighter jets to AI. Whoever controls Taiwan controls the pulse of modern civilization, and that's why Beijing's eyes are fixed upon it. China's leader, Xi Jinping, has declared that reunification with Taiwan is not optional, it's destiny. He's promised to achieve it by 2049, marking 100 years of communist rule, and he hasn't ruled out force. Over the last few years, China's war games around Taiwan have escalated sharply. Fighter squadrons cross the island's air defense zone almost daily, warships circle its waters, and ballistic missiles thunder into nearby seas. This isn't mere saber-rattling anymore, it's rehearsal. Washington, in turn, has begun to respond with the urgency of a nation preparing for the unthinkable. Determined to maintain stability and defend its allies, the United States is quietly repositioning its most lethal assets across the Pacific, a move reminiscent of the Cold War's most tense moments. In late April, the U.S. Air Force dispatched one of its crown jewels, the F-22 Raptor, from Virginia to Kadena Air Base in Okinawa, Japan. The relocation was no coincidence. Kadena, often called the Keystone of the Pacific, sits at the very heart of America's Indo-Pacific defense shield. Perched on Okinawa's southern edge, Kadena is the largest U.S. Air Force base in the region, home to the mighty 18th Wing and a joint force of Air Force, Navy, Army, and Marine personnel. More than 7,500 troops, supported by thousands of contractors and Japanese civilians, operate from this sprawling hub. Its twin 12,000-foot runways and fortified hangars can host everything from stealth fighters to heavy bombers, making it a fortress in the sky. But its location is what truly makes it invaluable. Kadena is barely 400 miles from China's coastline, a stone's throw in strategic terms. From there, U.S. aircraft can watch, respond, and project power across the entire East China Sea, South China Sea, and the Taiwan Strait within minutes. Shanghai lies just 480 miles away, well within range for reconnaissance and rapid interception missions. For generations, Kadena has been the home of America's finest warbirds, the F-15 Eagle, the F-16 Fighting Falcon, and now the F-35 Lightning II. In 1979, the F-15 became a symbol of American air dominance from this base. But by 2023, the venerable Eagle began to give way to the next era. The Raptors have now taken its place, faster, stealthier, deadlier. Roughly 25 F-22 Raptors from the 27th Fighter Squadron are now stationed at Kadena, a deployment more than twice the usual rotation size. It's a bold signal to both allies and adversaries alike. The U.S. isn't just watching events unfold, it's preparing for every possible outcome. Across the East China Sea, in China's Fujian province, the People's Liberation Army Air Force has deployed its own stealth fleet, the J-20 Mighty Dragon, to Wuyishan Air Base, just 600 miles away. It's Beijing's answer to the Raptor, a symbol of its technological ambitions and military confidence. Officially, the U.S. calls the Raptor presence routine rotation. Unofficially, everyone understands what it means. The timing coincides perfectly with China's J-20 expansion along its eastern seaboard. Washington's message couldn't be clearer. The United States will not surrender control of the Pacific skies. Each Raptor at Kadena brings more than speed and stealth. It brings intelligence. Every sortie helps map China's radar networks, track J-20 flight patterns, and expose weaknesses in its stealth profile. In a real conflict, that data could determine who wins before the first missile is ever launched. In Pentagon war simulations, just 2 Raptors are enough to tilt the air balance over Taiwan. 25 could dominate it entirely. Such a battle, if it ever comes, would be the largest aerial confrontation of the modern era. But make no mistake, this deployment is not about seeking war. It's about ensuring it never begins. By placing its most advanced fighters within striking distance of the Chinese coast, the United States is sending an unmistakable warning. The line has been drawn. The deployment of the F-22 Raptors to Kadena Air Base was only the beginning. While the world watched the skies over Okinawa, Washington made another move, one that rippled across the Pacific. Almost simultaneously, the U.S. Navy surged its presence in both the Philippine and South China Seas, dispatching dual-carrier strike groups led by the USS Roosevelt and USS Ronald Reagan. Together, these colossal warships embody the muscle of American sea power, capable of launching over 150 aircraft and commanding control over thousands of nautical miles. They weren't sailing alone. Surrounding them were Aegis-equipped destroyers and cruisers, mobile shields armed with SM-6 interceptors designed to neutralize both ballistic and hypersonic threats. Beneath the ocean's surface, silent sentinels in the form of Virginia-class submarines glided unseen, carrying out classified deterrence patrols. It was a silent but unmistakable message from Washington. The Pacific Order will not be surrendered without resistance. Further south, the Philippines, once hesitant to commit, has stepped back into the fold as a crucial ally. Early in 2024, the U.S. expanded its access to 4 additional sites under the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement. One of them, Kadena Air Base, lies just 400 miles from Taiwan and is now being reshaped to accommodate U.S. fighter squadrons and missile defenses. From that distance, American jets could reach the Taiwan Strait in under an hour, a detail not lost on Beijing's strategists. Across Japan, the winds of change are equally visible. After decades of restraint, Tokyo has adopted a more assertive stance. With repeated Chinese incursions near the Senkaku Islands, Japan has redefined its defense posture. Its new national security strategy, unveiled in late 2023, authorizes a dramatic rise in defense spending, doubling its budget to over $320 billion. The nation is now purchasing Tomahawk cruise missiles, expanding its self-defense forces, and collaborating with the U.S. to enhance bases like Kadena and Yokota for rapid deployment. Each of these developments forms part of a larger pattern, the quiet construction of a fortified Indo-Pacific barrier meant to contain Chinese expansionism. And at the center of this evolving defensive network stands Taiwan, both the symbol and the stronghold of resistance. Beijing, however, is not observing passively. The People's Liberation Army has escalated its military drills around the island with a new intensity. Satellite images reveal amphibious brigades massing along China's southeastern coast. Massive Type 075 assault ships rehearse invasion scenarios almost monthly, while Y-20 transport aircraft shuttle equipment and personnel to forward bases in Fujian province. These are no longer mere exercises. They are rehearsals for something far larger. In one unprecedented maneuver, China deployed 71 aircraft and 7 naval vessels in a single day around Taiwan, the largest display of force to date. Fighter jets crossed the Taiwan Strait's median line, once considered an invisible boundary. Their intent was unmistakable. No line is too sacred to cross if it stands in our way. Inside Taiwan, unease mixes with determination. The island's government has reinstated year-long conscription, expanded reservist training, and intensified civil defense exercises. Urban warfare simulations and blackout drills have become the new normal. Taiwan's leaders understand that the first 72 hours of any invasion would determine the island's survival. To counter the looming threat, Taiwan has embraced the so-called porcupine defense. The philosophy is simple: make the island an impossible target to conquer. Small, agile, and lethal systems form the backbone of this approach. Truck-mounted missile batteries, mobile radar stations, anti-ship and anti-air defenses, and a growing drone fleet. The integration of HIMARS rocket systems, combined with Harpoon and Stinger missiles, has turned Taiwan into a tightly coiled fortress, ready to strike back from every angle. But as formidable as the ground defenses are, air superiority remains the decisive factor. That's where the Raptors of Kadena come in, maintaining what U.S. commanders call persistent air deterrence. Their presence forces Chinese pilots to think twice before crossing invisible thresholds. Each sortie from Kadena sends a subtle but unmistakable signal. The sky over Taiwan will not be conceded easily. Still, the margin for error grows thinner by the day. A single misinterpreted radar lock or accidental incursion could spark a confrontation with catastrophic consequences. For now, both militaries remain locked in a dangerous routine. American Raptors tracing silent arcs above the Pacific, while Chinese J-20s mirror their movements along the horizon. Every pass, every blip on radar feels like a rehearsal for a war no one truly wants to begin. As American F-22 Raptors rotate through Kadena Air Base, a quiet revolution is reshaping the future of U.S. air dominance, the most dramatic transformation in American air power since the Cold War. Washington has accepted that real deterrence in the Indo-Pacific isn't about sheer numbers of ships or jets. It's about agility, persistence, and surprise. Behind the scenes, the U.S. Air Force has launched its Agile Combat Employment ACE strategy, a new operating doctrine built to fight and survive in a contested Pacific environment. Instead of depending on a few massive, easily targeted bases, U.S. forces are now mastering the art of rapid dispersal, leaping from one austere airfield to another across Japan, the Philippines, Guam, and Micronesia. Small island strips that once held no value are being stocked with fuel, weapons, and spare parts, transforming them into temporary launch pads. This makes the Raptors, and all fifth-generation fighters, almost phantom-like. They vanish as quickly as they appear, striking from unexpected directions before slipping back into the shadows. Supporting them are C-17 Globemaster III transports and KC-135 Stratotankers, which keep supplies flowing and fuel tanks full in mid-air, making even the open Pacific a battlefield within reach. It's a choreography of precision and logistics, designed for one mission: staying ahead of China's missile threat. Further south, on the island fortress of Guam, the groundwork for a new line of defense is underway. The U.S. is hardening hangars, digging underground depots, and installing long-range radar capable of tracking incoming threats from thousands of miles away. Patriot and THAAD interceptors ring the island, while prototype laser defenses and hypersonic interceptors are being quietly tested. Even Guam's civilian runways are integrated into contingency plans, ready to host Allied jets at a moment's notice. But deterrence isn't only defensive. The U.S. and its allies are refining offensive counter-air tactics, operations meant to neutralize enemy airfields, missile batteries, and radar networks before an attack ever launches. Pentagon strategists call it blinding the dragon. In the first moments of a potential conflict, waves of cyber operations, electronic warfare, and precision strikes would aim to cripple Beijing's command networks, cutting the head before the body can move. Much of this coordination occurs through classified, multinational systems. American aviators now fly alongside Japanese F-15s, Australian Super Hornets, and British Typhoons, all connected by shared data links that merge radar and sensor feeds into a single digital picture. Together, the US, Japan, Australia, South Korea, and the Philippines are fusing their capabilities into an integrated web of defense across the Pacific. In essence, the region is evolving into one vast, interconnected air defense grid. Yet Beijing is countering fast. The PLA Air Force has fielded the Chengdu J-20 Mighty Dragon, a stealth fighter built to challenge the F-22. While much of its technology remains classified, analysts estimate that over 200 are already operational, frequently intercepting or shadowing U.S. aircraft near international airspace. Meanwhile, China's man-made islands across the South China Sea have become heavily fortified bastions. Each outpost bristles with radar arrays, surface-to-air missiles, and hardened shelters, forming a defensive triangle stretching from the Spratly Islands to the Paracels. Recent imagery shows long-range missile installations and buried hangars, evidence that Beijing is preparing for more than deterrence. It's preparing for duration. What concerns Western planners most, however, is the explosive growth of China's missile forces. The PLA rocket force now commands over 1,000 intermediate-range ballistic missiles capable of striking U.S. positions in Japan, Guam, and the Philippines within minutes. The DF-26, ominously nicknamed the Guam Killer, is designed specifically to hit American assets in the Pacific. In response, Ington is rapidly fielding hypersonic interceptors and mobile launch batteries along the Pacific Rim. And in the unseen realm of cyberspace, both nations battle daily. A digital shadow war rages, with data breaches, satellite interference, and network infiltration attempts on both sides. American intelligence has traced many of these attacks to PLA-linked hacker units targeting communication networks and defense firms. The U.S. Cyber Command, in turn, now operates under a persistent engagement doctrine, striking back instantly to deter future intrusions. Amid this high-tech tension, the Raptors at Kadena remain more than machines. They are symbols of presence and resolve. Sleek, nearly invisible, and ever watchful, they glide through the Pacific dusk, embodying both deterrence and readiness. For every sortie they fly, analysts in Beijing take note. And for every blip on a radar screen over the East China Sea, somewhere in Washington, someone is asking the question, what happens if this time it's not an exercise? Under the stillness of the Pacific night, tension lingers like a heartbeat beneath the waves. High above, F-22 Raptors slice silently through the darkness, unseen, unmatched, yet ever present. Each sortie, every orbit, serves as a quiet reminder that peace here isn't gifted, it's guarded. These jets are more than tools of war. They are guardians of deterrence, ensuring that no adversary dares to test America's commitment. Far below, carrier strike groups like the USS Ronald Reagan and stealth submarines patrol in silence, forming a shield of steel and purpose. Across sea, air, space, and cyberspace, the U.S. military operates as a single, integrated organism, vast, watchful, and unyielding. Tonight, the horizon is calm, the skies unbroken. Yet those stationed at Kadena understand the truth all too well. Peace isn't permanent. It endures only peace. Because there are those who refuse to let it fade.